how does the fall? We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe it.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Person, woman, man, camera, TV. If you get it in order, you get extra points.
He has the best words. Hi, everybody. It's Friday, you bastards. It's Oh, that went so fast. Didn't that go so fast? It's funny how time flies in a pandemic. It's funny how, germs fly in a pandemic. Unbelievable. This is just amazing. So Donald Trump finally let go of his Republican convention fantastical vision and finally conceded that they can't have one. I believe this will be his final trip to reality. It must be crushing for him. It must be crushing for him to have to concede the real world exists without him. He had to pretend that it was his idea, that he's always cared about the children. He's always cared about your safety. You know what the real truth is? The real truth is the sheriff of Jacksonville, Florida, which is where Donald Trump fled, right? Because the Democratic governor of North Carolina couldn't guarantee Donald Trump could have some fantasy COVID cauldron experience in his state. So he said, I don't know, you might want to, because we're going to enforce masks and social distancing. And Trump said, I don't like you. I'm invading your... No, he said, I'll just pull my convention and I'll give it to Ron Death Sentence, okay? I'll give it to him. He'll let it be a free-for-all. He'll let children die. He doesn't care. And even Ron Death Sentence said, how many Trump-induced catastrophes do you really want us to handle? But the real message came through the sheriff of Jacksonville. The sheriff of Jacksonville, his name is Mike Williams. I had to look him up, but I did. He had told Donald Trump on Monday, today is Friday, yesterday he said, I care about you so much, I'm going to cancel it. It wouldn't be right. It's just, and, I'm not suicidal. I just wanted to kill everybody else or something to that effect. No. The sheriff had on Monday said to the Trump 2020 campaign that his officers would be unable to provide security for the event, citing poor planning and a lack of funding. And that if they wanted to, go ahead with this, there would be mandatory masks. Jacksonville has a mandatory mask ordinance. And you'll have to do it on your own dime because we can't provide security for you. That's the truth of what happened. Here's what Donald Trump said with his best words.
This afternoon, my political team came to me and laid out our plans for the convention in Jacksonville, Florida. It's a place I love. I love that state. The drawings look absolutely beautiful. I never thought we could have something look so good so fast with everything going on. And everything was going well. A tremendous list of speakers. Thousands of people wanting to be there, and I mean, in some cases, desperately be there. They wanted to attend. People making travel arrangements all over the country. They wanted to be there. The pageantry, the signs, the excitement were really, really top of the line. But I looked at my team and I said, the timing for this event is not right. It's just not right with what's happened recently, the flare-up in Florida.
The flare-up?
To have a big convention, it's not the right time. It's really something that, for me, I have to protect the American people. That's what I've always done. That's what I always will do. That's what I'm about. They said, sir, we can make this work very easily.
Sir.
We have great enthusiasm, incredible enthusiasm.
Enthusiasm.
Even the polls say about the most enthusiasm they've seen. We can do this safely and we can do it responsibly. And I said there's nothing more important in our country than keeping our people safe. Whether that's from the China virus or the radical left mob that you see in Portland.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. This is because they could not guarantee security. They said the planning for this thing was so piss poor that they just couldn't. They didn't want it. So, and he, he had to stay. And I don't know, maybe they're to soothe his encounter with reality, which is crushing for this man, okay, to soothe. Maybe they're showing him polls today because he cited some poll that show that he's crushing Joe Biden in Florida or some such crap. The real polls in Florida show Joe Biden crushing Donald Trump literally by 13 freaking points.
Let's start with some polling. Quinnipiac University polling out of the state of Florida shows President Trump trailing by 13 points in Florida. Former Vice President Joe Biden leads President Trump 51% to 38% among Florida voters. Biden also leads Trump in 3 Fox News states polls. In Pennsylvania, Biden leads by 11 points, 50 to 39. In Michigan, by 9 points, 49 to 40%. And in Minnesota, by 13 points, 51 to 38%. And in a new Quinnipiac University poll out of Texas, Biden leading Trump by a single point, 45% to 44. That's actually statistically tied, falling within the poll's 3-point margin of error. But wow.
Look at the top of his head.
It's going to blow off. Yeah, it's really, but don't get overconfident, everybody. Like I said, don't get overconfident. Trump is definitely in a mood. It depends who he's talking to and where he is these days. He stands up at the podium each and every day now without health experts. Now, yesterday he did include Little Debbie, but he wouldn't let her speak. But anyway, he stood up at the podium and he said things like, I care for you. I have to cancel. I have to. When that is not remotely the truth. He also said something about children's immune systems being like so much better than adults' immune system, which is just bizarre world because, the more you live, the more you're exposed to viruses and the more immunity you build, right? That's why you have to be vaccinated as a child against, disease. The reason why children tend to not get COVID in the same vicious manner that over 10-year-olds and up get it has to do with a receptor. I don't know how else to tell. It's called an ACE2 receptor. This is the receptor that the virus likes to bind to. Donald Trump has no idea about that. He has no idea what he's talking about, okay? He just wants schools to open. He wants to sacrifice your children at the altar of his political opportunity. And that's that because, he stood up there yesterday and he said, hey, their immune systems are really, they're freaking amazing. And
again, the children obviously have a very strong immune system.
Oh, he's so stupid.
Maybe even as strong as yours. They seem to be able to fight it off and not have a problem.
Yeah. So when we come back, we'll come back with a serious doctor, Dr. Vin Gupta, who says that under 10, just like Little Debbie Burks told you, we don't know because they've not tested the kids under 10, but we do know about the nasal swabs that show less of these certain receptors that the COVID virus likes to bind to. However, 10 to 19-year-olds, 10 and up, transmit coronavirus just as wildly as adults do. That's what the science shows. And in fact, remember when Donald Trump said he was going to change the CDC's recommendations for schools? Yeah, they did that. And they released them. And they're bizarre.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Today, the CDC will provide additional guidance for how schools can reopen safely. I hope that local leaders put the full health and well-being of their students first and make the right decision for children, parents, teachers, and not make political decisions. This isn't about politics. It's about something very, very important. This is not about politics.
Yeah, it's totally about politics. Here's Dr. Van Gupta explaining what the CDC guidelines buried inside the guideline. Let me just tell you what's in there, okay, before I play you him. Inside the CDC guidelines, it says that if you have a coronavirus pandemic that is, I'll use Trump's great word, flaring, right? Like out of control, like 1,100 deaths a day, which we have had for 3 days in a row now, okay? If you have coronavirus positivity rates above 5%, ours, depending on where you are, is anywhere from 20 to 32% positive, right? Then you cannot open schools. That's buried inside the CDC guidelines. But the rest of it is saying, let them wash their hands, keep them 3 feet apart. They all have to be masked. They can't work in groups. Can't collect papers. You can't do anything. And they have to sit in the classroom. They can't go to lunch. They have to spend 8 hours a day in that same seat. I mean, this is ridiculous. But this is what Dr. Van Gupta said about Donald Trump's assertion that children don't transmit coronavirus as well as adults do, and the freaking CDC political guidelines that he ordered after he saw the guidelines that the CDC put out at the beginning. He said, too strong, too tough, nobody could meet those standards. I want new ones. And he got the new ones. And Dr. Van Gupta said, all right, let's just call it what it is. The CDC is now an arm of Donald Trump's 2020 campaign.
Let's call it what it is. The CDC has lost its independence. And it's sad to see, as somebody that's been in public health, working for the CDC in South Asia during the pandemic flu 10 years ago, it's really sad to see what's happened to this organization. They basically neglected a study that's in preprint and is going to get published in October in emerging infectious diseases. Your viewers can look it up. Emerging infectious diseases, a study of 65,000 individuals, close contacts of known cases in South Korea. You know what that study showed, Brian? It showed that if you're between 10 and 19 years of age, you're just as likely to transmit COVID-19 than if you're an adult. And so when I hear teachers reach out to me, school districts reach out, say, hey, doc, what do we do? When parents are sitting there concerned and scared and anxious, as is much of the country, about sending their children to school, loved ones sending their spouse, who might be a teacher, into a crowded classroom that might be poorly ventilated, what does the CDC do? They don't even highlight their own journal article in their own journal, in their own scientific journal. It's really sad to see. And what it's left us with is a president saying, hey, by the way, America, you're on your own. Local counties and districts, you figure it out. Parents, teachers, you figure it out.
Yeah, and I pulled it. I actually went, Dr. Van Gupta told me about that CDC study called Emerging Diseases. And so I went, and it is a study. The conclusions of the study are that COVID-19 in children under the age of 10 is small. But once children turn 10, and the only reason why we know this is because we do test children over the age of 10, and we really haven't tested any of the kids under 10, but they said that school closure and social distancing significantly reduced the rate of COVID-19 among contacts of school-aged children. They said that children from 0 to 9 years, despite closures of their schools, when they interact with other children, bring COVID home. And so they said children who attend daycare or school also are at high risk for transmitting respiratory viruses to household members. And they said that this suggests the importance of school closure. And they say, hey, we couldn't even test all the asymptomatic cases because we don't test kids under 10. So Donald Trump is just lying and sacrificing children at the altar of re-election because parents are very, very freaked out and they don't know what to do, and he refuses to tell them what the right thing is. He will only tell them what he thinks helps his re-election effort. I mean, now look in Florida, which, obviously loved Rick DeSantis. Rick DeSantis poll numbers, they're in the toilet. He went down, 40 points in his approval rating or some crazy number. I think he's at 41%. I think he lost 30 percentage points. He was like at 72%. People were like, they love the onesie. They love the baby in the onesie. Make America Great Again onesie. But they are losing complete faith in this man. His polls are tanking too. 70% of Florida registered voters believe COVID is out of control. They want to see in public mask mandates, something Rick DeSantis will not order. 62% of Florida voters are against sending their own elementary, middle school, and high school students back to their classrooms. 62% said it would be unsafe to have the Republican National Convention here. The teachers union here in Florida sued Ron Death Sentence, sued him because he has ordered that schools be open with, quote, the full panoply of services. He went to the Orlando Blood Bank the other day and he was heckled very, very badly and loudly. And now Joe Biden is beating Donald Trump in the state of Florida by 13 points. So there you have it in a nutshell, okay? What is the real situation for real people who are really trying to figure out what to do in the middle of these numbers, which are horrible. I mean, we're 5% of the world's population, and that's being generous, right? There are 16 million cases in the world. 4 million are here in the United States. We have literally 25% of the cases. We're doing all the dying. And they're like, he's like, go send your kids back to school. I mean, honestly, and DeVos is lying. And now she's saying, well, if public schools won't open, I want the money. I want the money. And I want that money to go with the kids so that they can go to a charter school, which has even fewer rules of the road, even fewer points of accountability. It's out of control. It's bizarre. This is and you know what? You know what's really sick? You know what the Senate did today? You know what they did? They went home. No stimulus bill. Last checks go out tomorrow.
561-270-3844. All right, the surge in the virus has stalled the beginnings of a jobs recovery. Another 1.4 million Americans filed for first-time unemployment benefits last week. That brings the total to 52.6 million since mid-March. That number just incomprehensible. Now, this is the first weekly increase in the past 16 weeks. Unwelcome, but hardly unexpected in the weeks after states reopened without the virus fully under control and mask wearing widespread. At the same time, initial loans from the Paycheck Protection Program meant to keep employees on the payroll are starting to run out. Businesses were supposed to rehire by June 30th for loans to be forgiven. Now, continued jobless claims, that's a number we watch to see if there's been a little bit of rehiring. That did come down to about 16.2 million, down by more than 1 million from the previous week. The rise in overall claims comes as millions of Americans are going to lose an extra $600 a week in unemployment benefits. Jobless Americans say the bigger checks help them to pay rent, to buy medication, to put food on the table. And with the month winding down, more evictions are looming. Okay. City and state efforts that halted eviction proceedings or provided emergency relief have either expired or funding has now dried up. One report shows as many as 23 million renters are now at risk of eviction by September 30th.
I know nothing.
Seriously, dude, this is so bad. This is the next crisis that's facing Americans, the least able to cope and deal with COVID. The first people to get fired and the last people to get relief. This is so amazing to me. And it's like if Donald Trump hates you, then either, you get cut off at the knees, or he invades your city with tough guys, which is what that's what I was saying. It depends where he is, when he's standing at the White House podium, he sounds almost like a person. Almost like a person, because he's reading off of a script. Then he'll go on the Fox News channel, he'll go on the faux news, he'll go on the Fox, vowel movement away from what it does to the news, and he'll start bragging about how he's going to invade your city and that we're going everywhere and we're sending, tough guys. We're going to send 50 to 60,000 tough guys. This is what he said.
We want to go in and help the cities. We want to help Chicago. We want to help all of them. Detroit's having problems. They're a very good police chief in Detroit, but they have problems. We'll go into all of the cities, any of the cities. We're ready. We'll put in 50,000, 60,000 people that really know what they're doing, and they're strong, they're tough, and we could solve these problems so fast. But as you know, we have to be invited in.
Mr. President, I want to ask you about that.
We're going to have to do something that's much stronger than being invited in.
What is he talking about? Martial law? I mean, seriously, 50 to 60,000 tough guys. They're going to go and beat you because I don't like you. I like your police commissioner. I like the Detroit. But I don't like, I'm not fond of Albuquerque. I don't like Lori Lightfoot. I don't like Chicago. I don't like Pennsylvania. I don't like, Democratic governors. I don't like Democratic mayors. So I'm going to send 50 to 60,000 tough guys. Meanwhile, I just this is not an aside, okay? This, again, you know how I tell you, the homework is really, it's everything for me, okay? It's exactly what I am relying on to do these shows, right? And so I show you everything that I relied on to do these shows at randyrhodes.com/homework. If you do that, you'll get right to the homework page. If not, go to randyrhodes.com and then click on the top on the homework. It's free. I want you to see it. I want you to have it. When you look at the homework. Now, I print it out because that's just me. And then that's what's on my desk. And then I lay all this stuff out and I look and I see, what is this story telling me? What is it? Well, one of the stories in the homework today has to do with Michael Cohen. What? Yeah, bear with me. A federal judge ordered Michael Cohen released yet again from prison because the judge, Alvin Hellerstein, who is a federal district court judge, said that Donald Trump's Justice Department, or Donald Trump, right? Bill Barr, Donald Trump's personal attorney, now gave a probation agreement on July the 9th to Michael Cohen and told him to sign it, and that the agreement said that Michael Cohen would not speak, that he would not talk to the media, he would not write anything, he couldn't write a book, he couldn't go on TV, he couldn't appear in a film, he couldn't be on the news, he can't be in the media, he has to stay off all social platforms. And the reason why they included this in his probation terms is because Michael Cohen had said that he was going to write a book about Donald Trump being a racist. He's a cheat. He's a con man. Remember that? Well, the judge in this case said that in 21 years of sentencing people and looking at the terms of release, I have never seen such a clause, and that this was designed to take from Michael Cohen his First Amendment rights. Michael Cohen did not go back to jail because he went to a restaurant. Michael Cohen was taken back to Otisville in upstate New York, the only kosher prison, everybody, in case you were wondering where you wanted to go. No filler in the food, you know. But Michael Cohen was taken back to Otisville because Michael Cohen didn't know if he was willing to sign away his First Amendment rights. And so instead of giving Michael Cohen a chance to talk to the Department of Justice and say yes or no to this, when he hesitated, they whisked him away back to Otisville. The judge ordered Michael Cohen to be released today before 2 p.m. I think he's probably out. Because the judge had never in 21 years seen a probation or a release term that included an NDA or a gag clause or whatever the hell you want to call this. He said, never saw this in my life. Cohen should be released by 2 p.m. Friday, and that's that. Now, what does that have to do with sending 50 to 60,000 tough guys to places where there are Black Lives Matters protests? They're trying to take away your First Amendment rights. And so all of a sudden you see this behavior and you realize what he's really after. That's why he calls the media the enemy of the people, right? He's always been very, very, very against facts, reality, reporting the news, you deciding for yourself, reading books. Remember, he sued his own niece. Said she wasn't free to publish a book. Court said, are you freaking kidding me? Of course she could publish a book. Was it John Bolton, who I can't stand, but you know, I said to you, you got to watch to see whether or not his book gets released, because the president was threatening to quash the release of his book, which is also a First Amendment protected right that he has. Okay, throw this into the mix. This is also in the homework. Do you remember last month Bill Barr said he would testify in front of Congress? The date is next Tuesday. You think he'll show up?
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
First, we were pressured to reduce the initial sentencing guidelines calculation for Mr. Stone without any clear legal rationale for doing so. When we refused to go along, we were instructed instead to disregard the guidelines entirely and to recommend an unspecified lower sentence for Mr. Stone. I was told that to the best of anyone's recollection, such a recommendation has never been made by the Fraud and Public Corruption section of the United States Attorney's Office.
Oh my God.
When we again refused, we were told that we could be fired if we didn't go along. I notified the office that I intended to withdraw from the case rather than file a memo that was the result of wrongful political pressure. And while all this was happening, I was repeatedly told the department's actions were not based on the law or the facts, but rather on political considerations, Mr. Stone's political relationships, and that the acting U.S. attorney was afraid of the president.
So, you know who, do you remember that guy? His name was Zelensky, okay? His name, not President Zelensky. We have a lot of Zelenskys, okay? A lot of Ukrainians. Yeah, I'm one of them. But anyway, this was the prosecutor, Aaron Zelensky, that worked with Robert Mueller. And he worked specifically on the Roger Stone portion of the Mueller case, all right? And Aaron Zelensky testified about a month ago in front of Congress about the, I hate this word, politicization of the Justice Department. I have to say it very, very, very stinking slow. And also Donald Ayer, who was a former Deputy Attorney General of the United States. He testified, I believe William Barr poses the greatest threat in my lifetime to our rule of law. You remember that fiasco? And Louis Gohmert started banging on the table with his pencil and wouldn't stop because he didn't want anybody to hear what the former Deputy Attorney General of the United States was saying about the current Attorney General of the United States. Remember that? I pulled it out for you just so that you can refresh.
This conduct in particular gives cause for great concern about what Barr may do next. Just another 30 seconds. In closing, it needs to be said that Bill Barr does regularly lie in ways that impact official action. Along with his continuing media project to make Americans believe that the FBI conspired against Donald Trump, his statements about the Mueller report, Jeffrey Berman's supposed resignation, and Barr's own role in the events in Lafayette Park come quickly to mind. So does his practice of regularly shrouding himself in the rhetoric and trappings of the rule of law even as he desecrates and undermines the institutions that make it possible. But to me, Barr's crowning dishonesty is the portrait of Edward Levy that a recent New York Times article showed hanging on the wall of his conference room, as though the current incumbent
regular order. The witness will conclude.
Regular order is right.
We're way beyond regular order.
The witness will continue.
Okay, remember that testimony? That was the former Deputy Attorney General of the United States, Donald Ayer, okay? And he was testifying that Bill Barr, that you've never seen behavior like this ever in the United States. And this goes right alongside with the Lafayette Square invasion and the blowing out of the peaceful protesters in Lafayette Park because Donald Trump asked him to do it so he could have some stupid photo op in front of St. John's Church. Well, now you see what's going on in Portland. Now you see the president threatening to send 50 to 60,000 tough guys into cities he doesn't like. You saw not only the Zelensky testimony, this was commuting Roger Stone's sentence altogether. But you heard them say that they threw out the sentencing guidelines for Roger Stone because of his personal relationship with the president, and that Jeffrey Berman, the U.S. attorney who was investigating Ghislaine and Rudy Giuliani and Donald Trump and his tax thing, that he got fired. And Bill Barr said, no, he resigned. No, he didn't resign. All of this. So next Tuesday is July 28th, I think. Somebody check on your Google Calendar or your Outlook mail or whatever. But it's July 28th. That is the date that Bill Barr said that he would come to Congress and he would finally answer questions. Because remember, Bill Barr has been held in contempt of Congress because Bill Barr won't testify in front of Congress. The House issued a subpoena for Bill Barr to testify after he slow-walked and mischaracterized the Mueller report, which clearly showed that Donald Trump, if he were not president, would be indicted for obstruction of justice in 10 different instances. Bill Barr is a dirty cop. That's all Bill Barr is. Bill Barr is Roy Cohen. Bill Barr is a dirty cop. He is a person who would allow people to get killed, just like Roy Cohen did. The Rosenbergs, I don't know if you remember, that they were accused of giving the bomb, secrets of the bomb, to the Russians. Well, they didn't do it, but they were executed because Roy Cohen prosecuted them. Roy Cohen was 23, 24 years old, and a drunk Wisconsin senator named Joe McCarthy, he was another drunk, hired Roy Cohen, and Roy Cohen did that thing. So Bill Barr is one of those. He's just one of those. And the thing that's on the chopping block now is your First Amendment rights. The right to peaceably assemble, the right to write a book, the right to speak out against this president, the right to be on social media speaking out against this president, the right to testify truthfully about this president, all of that, all of it. And so Bill Barr is supposed to come and testify, and they want to ask him about Zelensky's testimony, and the best way to do it is the way that I do it. Honestly, if you're Nadler and you're listening, or anybody on the Judiciary Committee, Schiff knows this, just play the testimony. Just play what Aaron Zelensky and Donald Ayer all testified to, okay? And just play it. Also, the guy's named Mark Elias, he also testified same way, that they had never seen anything be done in the Justice Department that Bill Barr was doing. Now, this goes right along with what the federal judge said about Michael Cohen's release terms. In 21 years of looking at, release terms of prisoners, he has never seen an NDA. He has never seen a gag order. He has never seen somebody have to promise to not speak in any way, shape, or form about what he knows about the president of the United States or about anybody. So it's all the same story. And it seems like there's a million stories out there, but there isn't. There's one story, and the story is that the president of the United States is willing, here's an easier way. What wouldn't he do? Isn't that easier? What do you think would be off limits to secure a second term for Donald Trump? What would he say? Oh, no, I can't. That's a bright red line. I can't cross that line. I can't do X. What do you think X might be? Well, for me, you can't solve for X because there is no X. There is nothing he wouldn't do. And he has shown you that. And he has told you that. And he is telling that to Fox News after he gets done reading scripts from the podium. He is telling Fox News that he is going to send thugs. He is telling Fox News how happy he is that the mayor of Portland, Ted Wheeler, was gassed. And he was. I don't know if you saw the video, but it's pretty upsetting, okay? This is what happened to Mayor Ted Wheeler of Portland.
I'm not going to lie. It stings. It's hard to breathe. And I can tell you with 100% honesty, I saw nothing that provoked this response. It's nasty stuff. I'm not afraid, but I am pissed off.
What are you pissed about?
This is a egregious overreaction on the part of the federal officers. There was nothing that I saw anybody do that warranted this reaction. And all it's doing, as you can see, it hasn't stopped the crowd. So they fired munitions, they fired tear gas. All it's done is piss everybody off even more. It's made people angry. They've come in and they've kicked a hornet's nest. Sure. This is not a de-escalation strategy. This is flat out urban warfare.
Urban warfare.
And it's being brought on the people of this country by the President of the United States.
This is urban warfare being brought on by the President of the United States. That's what Ted Wheeler said. So Donald Trump goes on Fox News and tells Sean Hannity how happy he is that they beat the crap out of Ted Wheeler, the mayor of Portland. How happy he is that they beat the crap out of him. He said they knocked the hell out of him.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
Radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe it. Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
Who is Donald Trump? He mocks the disabled. He praises racists.
Very fine people.
He attacks the military.
I like people that weren't captured, okay?
This 53-year-old Navy veteran hit repeatedly.
He protects criminals. He sympathizes with child sex traffickers.
Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison.
I just wish her well, frankly.
And now he attacks mothers. Who is Donald Trump? Donald Trump is a disaster. This Touch is responsible for the content of this advertising.
A disaster, just like he likes to say, because he has the best words. It's a disaster. It's a disgrace. Donald Trump is a disgrace. Strongly. Yeah, this is really sad. Here's what Donald Trump said on the TV about the mayor of Portland, Ted Wheeler. I just cannot believe this is the president of the United States, but it is.
And they were going wild for 51 days, and we went in, and they've done a great job. They were going to rip down the courthouse, a big federal courthouse, gorgeous federal courthouse. So we went in, and we've been very, very strong. And we have this Mayor Whalen, who I think is also, he's also the police commissioner, as I understand it, in Portland.
Yeah.
Mayor Wheeler. And he made a fool out of himself. He wanted to be among the people, so he went into the crowd, and they knocked the hell out of him. That was the end of him. So it was pretty pathetic.
What is wrong with him? Elected officials, well, that was the end of him. They knocked the hell out of him. It was pathetic. It was. This man is such a piece of. He's dangerous. He's dishonest. I will give you some good news because it's Friday, right? Last night, it broke. I tweeted it out last night. So if you follow me on Twitter at Randi Rhodes, then you know what I'm about to say. But the ACLU in Portland, the Oregon ACLU, if you're not a contributor to the ACLU, why not? Why not? All they do is defend your First Amendment rights. That's just, they defend the Constitution is what the ACLU does, okay? Especially the Bill of Rights. Now, and last night in Portland, Oregon, a U.S. District Judge, Michael Simon, blocked federal agents in Portland from attacking reporters, from attacking, arresting, dispersing, threatening to arrest, targeting force against journalists and legal observers. There are legal observers in Portland. At your polling place, there are usually, almost 100% of the time, legal observers. They're election judges or they're just there as lawyers observing. Same thing in Portland. The court order that was issued last night applies against the Department of Homeland Security and the U.S. Marshal Service. It is an injunction that says that they cannot unlawfully seize any photographic equipment, audio or video recording equipment, or press passes from journalists and legal observers, or order journalists or legal observers to stop photographing, recording, or observing this protest. This case was brought on behalf of real humans who actually were threatened, who had their equipment taken away from them. Now, you remember in Lafayette Square, there was an Australian camera crew. That's a very famous photo, right, of the Australian cameraman being rammed by Donald Trump's goons, right? Well, the same thing is happening in Portland. So it was filed on behalf of the Portland Mercury newspapers. John Rudolph, a photojournalist who just so happens to be 72 years old. He was shot on 2 separate occasions by federal agents. A guy named Matthew Lewis Rowland, a freelance photographer, who the federal agents shot 10 times in the back. Justin Yao, a freelance journalist who federal agents attacked with tear gas. Doug Brown, an ACLU of Oregon legal observer, who federal agents tear gassed and threatened to shoot. Alex Milan Tracy, a photojournalist who was shot by federal agents on the 20th of July and then was hit with a stun grenade on July 22nd by federal agents. And Kat Mahoney, also of the ACLU of Oregon, a legal observer, who was tear gassed by federal agents. They were all wearing high visibility T-shirts that said either press or ACLU of Oregon legal observer. Next up, the ACLU is waiting now. This is a pending case, a lawsuit they filed against DHS and the U.S. Marshal Service for attacking volunteer street medics. So we're getting someplace here. I also wanted to let you know that the Department of Justice Inspector General, a man whose name you probably are, when I say it, you'll go, oh yeah, Michael Horowitz, who somehow is still working. I don't know how he didn't get fired. But Michael Horowitz announced that he, as the Inspector General of the Department of Homeland Security, the Inspector General of the Department of Justice, is doing an inquiry on the attack of Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler, who went down to observe as police commissioner, as mayor, as an elected official, went to observe the protest outside the federal courthouse, and he was tear gassed. The DOJ is also going to review a wider berth of issues having to do with how this freaking president's Department of Justice has responded to all the protests, both in Portland and in Seattle and in Washington, D.C. over the past 2 months. It will review the use of force by these agents, as well as the use of tear gas by these agents, and munitions like beanbag rounds and rubber bullets that are fracturing people's skulls and putting eyes out. Also, the Department of Homeland Security's Inspector General is going to launch an investigation into the allegations that law enforcement officers, quote, improperly detained people, improperly transported protesters on the 15th of July. His name's Joseph Kufari. He said that he was sent a letter by Democrats, and he sent a letter back to the Democrats' House Judiciary Committee, where Bill Barr is supposed to go testify on Tuesday, saying that he will open up an investigation into these tactics. Also, locally, in the state of Oregon, the Oregon Department of Justice announced it is suing the U.S. Marshal Service, it is suing Customs and Border Protection, and it is suing the Federal Protective Services over civil rights abuses. And also in D.C., the same thing for the Lafayette Square incursion, surge. These are words you use over there. These are words you use in Afghanistan. These are words you use in Iraq, okay? In shooting wars, you talk about a surge. But the president talks about surges. The Department of Justice, the Attorney General, talks about surges.
Less than a year ago, Mr. President, you'll recall that as we saw crime starting to go up in a few cities, you asked me to initiate a surge in those cities to help our state and local partners deal.
A surge. So you want to know something? If this were overseas, and there were street protests like Tahrir Square or like in Afghanistan or in Iraq, you know what the United States does? They let the people speak, and then they help them. They help the people who are protesting illegitimate governments by building schools and hospitals and sending aid, money, to help people get through a bad government. But if we do it here, if we would do that here, somehow, oh no, this is America.
At RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, The Randi Rhodes Show.
So as I looked around at the American hellscape and tried to decide where to focus my ire, all of a sudden my mustache spoke to me upon the wind and said, talk about Portland. So as you probably know, Trump is using a secret paramilitary force to abduct peaceful protesters in Portland, Oregon. I know comparing him to Hitler became old hat 3 years ago, but this is some straight up Gestapo here. He's using the Department of Homeland Security, U.S. Marshals, and of course, Border Patrol agents to enact this mission. Nobody excels at rounding up innocent people whose primary motivation is a chance for a brighter future, quite like the U.S. Border Patrol. But they were really bummed when they found out hipsters don't have kids because of the earth dying. You just know they had a whole new line of little free-range hippie baby cages made just for this mission. Now, tough luck, fellas. They're still having their fun up there, don't get me wrong. Just grabbing protesters, throwing them in the back of minivans. Yes, regular-ass minivans. Nobody is worse at looking badass than Trumpers are. And nobody tries harder either. Every hardcore Trumper you know is always screaming about what'll happen if people with them, looking like a jar of mayonnaise with a flag tattoo. Ridiculous. And these guys ain't much better. They're legitimately trained and geared up, and then they all pile into the back of a rented Honda Odyssey, trying to look like Rambo while that automatic door slowly slides shut in front of your face. Portland's not having it. Coming out in droves to counter protests, specifically a bunch of Portland moms showed up. I guess they heard these we're besmirching the good name of the minivan out here. It's a smart move. Everybody knows you can't abduct a mom with a minivan. That's like trying to abduct Tony Stark with an Iron Man suit. But I guess these knew that moms were immune to any minivan-based tactics because they hit them with everything else. Tear gassed them, roughed them up, just playing all the greatest American policing hits. Yeah. To a bunch of moms, man. That's why I can't understand how anybody is just okay with some like this, even rednecks, especially rednecks. Every redneck I know professes to love two things, his mama and the U.S. Constitution. And right now, this president is slapping both of them right in front of your face, and you're just okay with it. Why? Because you think he's above doing it to your mama? I promise you he's not. But it's okay. You don't have to come around, admit you were wrong, admit the mistake you made 3 years ago. The rest of us are going to correct that mistake for you in a few short months. Hang in there, y'all. We can get through this. I love you. See you back.
I love you, too. Trey Crowder! Trey!
Minivan-based tactics.
They look like a mayonnaise jar with a flag tattoo. His references are so freaking on point. He's so... Oh, and you want to see Sarah Cooper? Sarah Cooper's got a new one, too. Okay, this is great.
Acuity test. And he said there actually is, and he named it, whatever it might be. And it was 30 or 35 questions. The first questions are very easy. The last questions are much more difficult. Like a memory question, it's like you'll go person, woman, man, camera, TV. So they say, could you repeat that? So I said, yeah. So it's person, woman, man, camera, TV. Okay, that's very good. If you get it in order, you get extra points. Okay, now he's asking you other questions, and then 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes later, they say, remember the first question? Not the first, but the 10th question? Give us that again. Can you do that again? And you go person, woman, man, camera, TV. If you get it in order, you get extra points. They said nobody gets it in order. It's actually not that easy, but for me it was easy. And that's not an easy question. In other words, they ask it to you, they give you 5 names and you have to repeat them, and that's okay. If you repeat them out of order, it's okay, but you know, it's not as good. But then when you go back about 20, 25 minutes later and they say, go back to that question, they don't tell you this, go back to that question and repeat them. Can you do it? And you go, person, woman, man, camera, TV. They say, that's amazing. How did you do that? I do it because I have like a good memory, because I'm cognitively there.
It must be really great to be a comedian who doesn't have to write anything because all she does is lip sync Donald Trump. That's all she does is lip sync Donald Trump. And it's hysterical because he is unhinged. Rule number 1 about trying to show people that you have cognitive skills is stop bragging that you have cognitive skills. He can't shut up about it. He just can't. Everyone he talks, and then beating the hell out of a mayor, and he is, wow. I just, but it's Friday, and so we needed good news and we needed a laugh, and so thank you very much to Trey Crowder, I love you, and Sarah Cooper. All right, Chris in Hawaii.
Hi, Randy.
Hey.
My biggest question is, well, how does he manufacture all these federal troops for going in for graffiti, but he can't manufacture all this for coronavirus when people are dying? That's just ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
But my main thing is all these children that end up in school, are they going to be tagged with the scarlet coronavirus letter now for their pre-existing conditions?
You bet.
Into their future?
You bet.
You know, that's just great. Real quick on Hawaii, since March, we have, when you go into a store, they're sterilizing you. You have to wear a mask. It's been going since March. We just had on Oahu 55 cases. Big Island had 3. We're at about 115 and change here. We've been doing it right, and we're in the Deep South. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah, the Deep South Pacific. But, yeah, it's the Deep South. Sure.
Yeah. You know, but we've been doing it. We've been trying here, but every hotel is still closed in Kona.
That's why you don't have a lot of communicable cases. That's why you don't have community spread, because your hotels are closed. Are your bars open?
Bars and restaurants are open.
They are.
Yes.
How do you eat and drink with a mask?
They are. We are. I actually am an executive chef at a restaurant. We are doing social distancing. We happen to be on the waterfront, which is nice.
Oh, so outside.
We are outside, thank God. We've been open since the reopening. We closed down for about 2.5 months. But we're trying to survive on local traffic, which Hawaii whole industry is tourism.
Yeah.
So it's pretty scary, but my thing is.
So let me ask you this question over here. So I'm in Florida. Can I enter Hawaii or no?
Right now it's a 14-day quarantine, and we actually have a good team of people that are actually Facebooking. When people break quarantine, we turn them in. We've had 99 people so far turned in on Big Island alone.
Wow. Because I know, Costa Rica is in the same criteria as you. Although, you're American and Costa Rica is not, but Costa Rica just said, all right, on August 1st, we're going to open up a couple of airports because they need tourism too. That's what made me think of it. But only if you're coming from Canada, Germany, or Spain, go figure. Can't come in if you're an American. And they're requiring that anybody that does come from Canada, Germany, or Spain has a current COVID test that's no more than 48 hours old.
Yeah, we tried to do a 72-hour test, but it came. What's really stupid is I'm a chef and I know a solution. We get a 200,000 instant read test right at Cohen International Airport. You get off the plane, you take an instant test, you're good. You come on in and you have a good time. If you're not, go home.
Exactly. It is so simple that you and me, a talk show host, can figure that out.
Oh, I'm a complete idiot, and I could have handled this better.
I love you. Thank you.
Bye, Randy. I love you too.
Bye, Chris.
Bye.
Bye. Aloha.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randy, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Me and Chris could figure it out. Chris is a chef. I'm a freaking talk show host, so we could figure out how to open up borders. Isn't that something? But Donald Trump cannot figure out that testing does not cause coronavirus.
It makes us look bad, but they say it's good. I don't mind looking bad if it's a good thing. But think of it. If instead of 50 million, we did 25 million, we'd have half the number of cases. The cases would be down. Here would be the normally headline. Not for me, it wouldn't be, but for anybody else, they'd say cases cut in half, okay? But they wouldn't report it that way.
How does it feel to be smarter than the President of the United States, Chris? I'd love to eat your food because you're a genius. No, seriously, the President thinks that testing causes coronavirus. That is what he keeps saying. And if we only tested 25 million people instead of 50 million people, we would have half the coronavirus cases because testing causes coronavirus. He's an idiot. And, people literally will watch this and they'll say, he's right. He's right. Our hospitals are literally bursting at the seams. Our healthcare workers are exhausted. They've been doing this for 12, 13, 14 weeks already, tending to people who can't breathe, people who have brain hemorrhages, people whose bodies are filled with blood clots, people whose lungs are full of a white haze, right? But if we just stop testing, because testing causes coronavirus. Oh, my God. All right, Tom in Florida.
Randy.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if you remember me or not. This is Special Forces Tom down in Panama City.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm hanging in there. Hey, I've got a 14-year-old granddaughter that literally worships you.
Oh.
I mean, she is so intelligent.
What's her name?
Darlene, and she is a darling.
Darlene.
Anyway.
Oh, hi, Darlene.
Yeah, I have to stand out in the yard because I'm out in the country to talk to you.
Oh.
So I can't get it. Anyway, religious Tom Hartman, you.
That's fabulous.
She won't do it watching you. She loves you. But here's a question that she presented to me that she wanted me to present to you.
Okay.
If and when Trump, slowly dissolves into mush, which he's not far off, and he loses the election and basically demands that he's not going to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Now, being commander-in-chief of the armed forces, she wants to know if he can have the Army protect him from being kicked out.
No, because they've already said, listen, tell her that the Secretary of Defense, Esper, is probably going to be replaced soon because he has spoken out about using the military against Americans, right? He has said that is a bridge too far, and so has General Milley. of the Joint Chiefs. He said Americans will not be attacked ever by the American military. So the American military will not answer, follow an illegal order. And it would be an illegal order for them to attack American citizens. So
what about just protect? That's what she was getting at.
Well, they could guard him, and keep, I don't know what danger, he would be in if he lost the election. What danger would he be in? We would all be counting the days until January 20th is what we would be doing.
Well, her point
and
was...
I got news for you. Like, if he went full-on Saddam Hussein or a full-on dictator, our military would have to chase him into some foxhole that he would have to dig for himself. And they... they would have to handcuff him and frog march him out of the White House. Is what they'd have to do.
I would kit back up and go after him. Here's another thing. I don't know if you remember. I was a guy that when Trump had his rally in Panama City Beach, I was the guy that got all the MAGA hats.
Yeah, I remember.
And put the secret code on it.
Yeah.
Thank God I'm white.
Yeah.
I donated all that to all the money to free speech.
Oh.
Yeah, I've got another one going now. Matter of fact, I've got like 200 more orders for hats. It's unreal.
That's great.
But now I've come up with a bumper sticker that says GOP, grifters oppressing people.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and we're selling those, and all the proceeds are going to free speech.
Oh, that's so nice. That's really nice. Mine was always grand old pedophiles, but okay.
Yeah, I think grifters opposing.
Yeah, grifters is much. It's cleaner. It's better. Yeah, it's it's good. They'll still get you shot in Florida, but that's good.
Well, I guarantee you made a 14-year-old's day because she's in there listening to you.
Darlene.
Right now.
Praise to you, honey, because you are a smart 14-year-old girl. I was too. Just don't turn out like me. You'll end up in a room talking to yourself, honey.
I know. She's amazing. She, like I said, for that age, her political beliefs and science and studies and
she sounds wonderful. She sounds like just
doesn't even own a video game.
It's a beautiful thing. I am so grateful for teenagers like her. She's in the category.
For Florida.
It's like the Marjorie Stoneman, the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas kids. They were amazing too. David Hogg and Emma. I mean, these young kids, they are enormously talented. Really, got to give it to them. They are an amazing generation, and I look forward to them being in charge. I really am looking forward to it.
Me too. I'm totally for women taking over government.
Oh, women. Yeah. Poor AOC. Did you see that whole thing with Ted Yoho? That lunatic called her an FNB on the steps of the Capitol?
And continued
and refused. He refused to apologize. He wouldn't even name her, and she got on the floor. Oh, my God. She was so good. She was so smart about it. I'm telling you, I can't. She's going to be president of the United States one day.
All right, and I can't. Just
you're breaking up out there in your cornfield, but I love you. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I said I can't believe the Republicans are not even saying anything about it.
So here's my prediction, okay, and I'll give it to you first.
Sure.
Come Labor Day, if Donald Trump's approval rating is still around 38 to 42%, they abandon him. They start saying things like, we didn't know what he was really about, and we always thought coronavirus needed a better response, and we tried to talk to him, and we wanted to get the money out the door, and we were never really part of, his thought process. He was an island unto himself, and you couldn't tell him anything, and just like the Bushies, right? They all called me up, and they said the same thing. Well, I didn't really support that war. I supported the troops. Bull. I think I did that backwards. Maybe I'm stroking out. I don't know. Anyway, Darlene, go with God, man. You are a smart girl, and I am counting on you.
Fatality. This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
In front of reporters, Representative Yoho called me, and I quote, a bitch. I could not allow my nieces, I could not allow the little girls that I go home to, I could not allow victims of verbal abuse and worse to see that excuse, and to see our Congress accept it.
She is so talented. She has the best words. I hate to tell you, just to bring it full circle, we started with he has the best. No, she has the best words. This is Ted Yoho, okay? Ted Yoho is an old congressman. And he literally, in front of reporters, this ham-handed lunatic misogynist, decided to call AOC an effing bitch because he feels she's dangerous. He literally told her she was dangerous and she was an effing B. All right? So he was forced to go on the floor and apologize. Clearly, he did not want to do this. Clearly, he would not mention her name. Clearly, he used God and his wife and daughters as a shield.
I rise to apologize for the abrupt manner of the conversation I had with my colleague from New York.
Abrupt?
It is true that we disagree on policies and visions for America, but that does not mean we should be disrespectful. Having been married for 45 years with 2 daughters, I'm very cognizant of my language. The offensive name-calling words attributed to me by the press were never spoken to my colleagues, and if they were construed that way, I apologize for their misunderstanding.
How do you construe?
As my colleagues know, I'm passionate about those affected by poverty. My wife Carolyn and I started out together at the age of 19 with nothing. We did odd jobs, and we were on food stamps.
Oh.
I know the face of poverty, and for a time it was mine.
Mm-hmm.
That is why I know people in this country can still, with all its faults, rise up and succeed and not be encouraged to break the law. I will commit to each of you that I will conduct myself from a place of passion and understanding, that policy and political disagreement be vigorously debated with the knowledge that we approach the problems facing our nation with the betterment of the country in mind and the people we serve. I cannot apologize for my passion or for loving my God, my family, and my country. I yield back.
But Mary Magdalene, she was an effing bitch. So she wasn't having it. AOC was not having it. Okay?
I do not need Representative Yoho to apologize to me. Clearly, he does not want to. Clearly, when given the opportunity, he will not. And I will not stay up late at night waiting for an apology from a man who has no remorse over calling women and using abusive language towards women. But what I do have issue with is using women, our wives and daughters, as shields and excuses for poor behavior. Mr. Yoho mentioned that he has a wife and 2 daughters. I am 2 years younger than Mr. Yoho's youngest daughter. I am someone's daughter too. My father, thankfully, is not alive to see how Mr. Yoho treated his daughter. My mother got to see Mr. Yoho's disrespect on the floor of this house towards me on television. And I am here because I have to show my parents that I am their daughter and that they did not raise me to accept abuse from men.
Oh, slayed it, honey. She slayed it. She literally slayed it. Darlene, I hope you heard that. Go get them. Go get them. Now, you got to remember, AOC also was Came from nothing. She was a waitress. She was a bartender. They've called her the bartender. But said Yoho, oh, I love my God, and I came from nothing. I did take government food stamps, though. I did. You know, and then he called her. She wasn't surprised. This did not hurt her because she was a waitress and a bartender. She heard these words, I'm a New Yorker, all the time from various men in your life. In every workplace, especially in bars and restaurants, if a man is peeved at the service or you cut him off, that is what you will be called. I worked at the Queen of Poland Bar in Queens. Okay, go look at it. The Queen of Poland Bar. In the daytime. In the daytime. I had guys that were so drunk they would sit in there and they would drink and never go to the bathroom. Guess why? You figure it out. Drink, but they never got up to go to the bathroom. That's the kind of bar, okay? So we're not strangers to this kind of stuff. It's just that she's a congresswoman now. And you would think that there would be a little more respect. But there isn't. Unless we take it. Brother David.
Sister, what you just said, hashtag AOC 2028 or 2032, whichever comes first.
I mean, she slayed it. She is so smart.
She just killed.
She actually ended up that speech by saying she wanted to thank Ted Yoho for showing.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
I saw it. Yeah.
It was amazing. She said, I want to thank him to show everybody that being a congressman does not make you decent. Being a father doesn't make you decent.
Right.
And I'm just so thankful that he showed everybody
bingo.
that is true.
And that's what they're doing. It is so blatant. It is so unprecedented.
Yes.
The blatancy of it, of the side that is going down the toilet. Here's the thing, sister. I took a sanity day off from the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services for the privilege of speaking to you, of course, but also because I needed a sanity day. We all need a sanity day because what is happening is molecular. And I'm not sure people really get that. This is a global thing. And the stuff that we've had that always goes forward in a certain way, even though it's controlled and blah, 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 is also going through this shift. I have never in my life been so hopeful and morose at the same time.
Yeah.
When I bring up, because we're all exhausted, because it's always shifting. The paradigm shift hasn't stopped. It's just going on. But when I bring up the chat room, and the Facebook streamers, and et cetera, and tell them to tell 10 people to go to randyrhodes.com and or hashtag or at Randi Rhodes on Twitter, it's not being an acolyte, though I am. We must make the virtual actual. This is what we have. There are still more of us. I have been the city of my childhood, because I was an Army brat, Albuquerque, and the city of my matriculation into the bigger world, Chicago, and the city maybe 40 minutes by tank away from me, Kansas City, is about to get the same treatment as the dress rehearsal that is Portland.
Yeah, and wait, I just have to tell people in Seattle, they deployed to Seattle.
There's that, right?
Yeah, they're just standing by in Seattle because Seattle's supposed to have protests this weekend, and they're there.
Right.
The same tactical units that were in Portland, they're in Seattle waiting for you to do anything that they don't like. I don't know what, like a firecracker or something like that. That'll
blink at them the wrong way. I mean,
yes.
Exactly. And God bless you if you're black.
Or a mom. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. What we love about Portland is the numbers are increasing at the protests.
Yeah.
And the dads with the leaf blowers and that. There are still more of us, sister.
You know what my favorite thing, though, is? They're throwing donuts at the cops. I think it's so ironic, you know? It's just such a great protest.
Donuts. So here's my thing.
I love
this
it.
This whole thing, And thank you for Trey and the other Randy Rainbow. This is what will keep us sane, and you, of course.
No doubt.
Tonight at 8 p.m. on Playbill.com, I'm going to be watching a live stream of the 1957 live telecast of Julie Andrews and Cinderella. And why am I doing that?
I don't know.
Because I could recite it in my sleep. But because there will be other people watching it with me.
Oh.
And even if it's only subconscious, we're connecting. We're connecting. And we will.
I watched baseball last night. Does that count?
That totally counts. Of course it counts.
Okay.
Love you always.
Back at you. I love you too. So Monday, I just want you to know, we have a work day. The studio needs to be updated, and so it's a long thing. But I don't want you to think anything happened to us. Nothing happened to us. It's a work day, and since we don't get vacation this year, we won't be here on Monday. Have a good weekend.